Welcome back to the series of 3 habits of highly successful Muslims. The clear objective and intent of these short videos is to review a great character in Islam, someone forgotten, yet their great contribution on Muslims and even on the world sometimes is radiant even today in our time. We will analyze their circumstances, the situation, what made them great, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they achieved their goals and dreams. We will see how that character applied those 3 principles or habits of highly successful Muslims: learn, plan, and execute, and how by applying them they've reached their goals and dreams. Before I get started, if you have not watched the introduction to 3 habits of highly successful Muslims, I would recommend you watch it first. It's only 12 minutes. The link is on the bottom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَقْصُصَ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So relate the story, perchance they may reflect. Therefore, in the sessions and the videos we're going to be meeting to talk about, we will comply and consider those lessons and as guidance. May Allah reward us. Our character today, his name is al-Rahman al-Nasir. Rahman ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah, grandson of Rahman al-Dakhil. You see, most of the glory that ever built in Andalus, for the most part, is due to his 49, almost 50 years of reign. He was the most accomplished of the Umayyad rulers of Spain. He ruled from 912 to 961. As a young man, he received an excellent education from the ulama of Cordoba. His intellect made him a prince among the scholars. His character and exemplary conduct won him allegiance of the court as well as the common man alike. See, what's really interesting about Rahman al-Nasir, there are more than one aspect of his great exemplary and conduct to make him one of our great unknown heroes of Islam. He ascended to the throne at age 23, young age. Spain at this time was completely adrift without central authority, complete disarray. It had been about 200 years since the arrival of Tariq ibn Ziyad and Musa ibn Nusayr in the name of Tawheed. By this time, in the 10th century, chieftains and noblemen were animated by love of gold, love of money, and that's all they cared about. At the turn of the 10th century, Al-Andalus was completely in disarray. Beni Hud controlled Saragossa in the north. Zunud controlled Toledo in the middle. Beni Abbad were very powerful in Seville or Ishbilia. The Barbars controlled Granada, and the newly arrived Slavs from Eastern Europe actually settled in Valencia by the Mediterranean. But not only that, the the Fatimiyat were really more serious threat to Rahman and Andalus more than anything else. By 923, they have captured North Africa, Morocco, displaced the Idrisi kingdom from Morocco and Algeria, and now they had their eyes on Spain. And to do that, a renegade Spanish chieftain, Omar ibn Hafsun, who had become a Christian openly, actually, challenged the rule of Cordoba and sought the help from the Fatimids, who provided him with everything that he needed. So they give him, they render him military assistance and was actually trying to help him rebuild the rule of Al-Andalus. By now, you kind of understand the situation. Well, let's do a quick analysis to assess what's going on. A young prince at age 23, ascend to the throne. He has no control over his kingdom. Odds all against him. One would actually judge that Rahman al-Nasir wouldn't last too long. After all, what would you do? Think about it. But Rahman was an extremely smart person. He was a consummate soldier. He was an accomplished scholar, great intellect. He put a strategy and milestones and tactics together and decided that he needs to win the heart of the people. That is his first action. He turned to the people, removed the taxes that were imposed on them, The second thing is he started to unify the peninsula under one banner, under his banner. So he did that one by one. He started to recapture each city, bring it back under his control, and then over the next 10 to 15 years, the entire peninsula was under his banner. The long-term strategy was after he gets his foot, you know, in the ground and unifies the peninsula under his banner, he would go and start to rebuild the Christians in the north. And that's exactly what he did. Now people started to look at this young prince who's winning the heart and mind of the people in Al-Andalus, and that's exactly what he did. The consequences of what he did is scholars flocked to his court from Kairouan, from Cairo, Baghdad, Bukhara, and people lived in Al-Andalus. So Abdurrahman's plan paid off. The military campaign worked. He forged Spain into a single military political entity. Now he turns his attention to building Al-Andalus from within. Now scholars flocked to his court from Kairouan, Cairo, Baghdad, Bukhara, everywhere. So brothers and sisters, come with me. Let me tell you some of the aspects of living in the 10th century in Al-Andalus and what it would look like. Some of what I'm about to tell you now will shock you when you know it. In the 9th century, the library of monastery of St. Gall was the largest in Europe. Guess how many books it had? It had 36 volumes. At the same time, the Library of Cordoba had collection books exceeded 500,000 volumes. No writer, no scriber, no teacher was left without work. It is said that when they tried to move the Umayyad library to a different place because it was becoming too small for the books, the volumes, it took 3 days with an army of horses to move the books. Under Abdurrahman, Qurtuba grew to be the largest and most cosmopolitan urban in the world. The population actually exceeded 1 million. The city had more than 100,000 homes, typically luxury homes with courts in the middle, fountains, water running, 80,000 shops, 700 mosques, maybe 1,000 mosques, and over 900 public paths, typically made out of marbles with services inside. Streets were paved, candled, and lit, and patrolled every night. Air ducts were extended over banks of flowers to provide cool and perfumed air conditioned in the homes. By this time, fashion was at its highest. People ate course meal. People drank in glass. They wear their hair in style, proper seasoned silk clothes, and people talk certain ways, behave certain ways. In the 10th century, Andalus had zero illiterate people. Can you imagine a society with every person educated? Kings and lords from all over Europe sent their kids to learn in Cordoba with messages to Abdurrahman and his son Al-Hakam and their descendants for the next 50 to 60 years to learn and be sponsored. Christian in Europe spoke Arabic to articulate their point of view and show their status. The court of Cordoba, like that of Baghdad, was open to Muslims, Jews, and Christian alike. There's no prominent bishop complained that young, Christian men were devoting themselves to learn actually Arabic, not Latin. Reflection of that the Arabic language became surprisingly, in a short time, the language of science, literature, as English today. It was said that some bishops and some outside of the peninsula or the Andalus, people would write poetry in Arabic. They were non-Arabic speaking people. Shops were filled with goods from all over the world. Al-Rahman actually also expanded the Great Mosque of Cordoba. Hospitals around this time were similarly organized. The large one built in Cordoba was providing running water, bath. Surgeons actually had tools to treat patients, broken bones, etc. Many work around medicine, about science, astronomy, cosmology, and so on were completed. It is also interesting to know that hospitals was actually open 24 hours. It was kind of the first to, to learn that Cordoba had an emergency hospital open 24 hours for patients to come in and they don't have to pay anything. I really think if we just stop here and say this is all what Abdurrahman al-Nasir accomplished in his reign, he would have earned his place as one of the greatest Muslim heroes with his achievements. After all, he unified the peninsula, built an architectural and literature revolution. He established a 150,000 to 200,000 strong um, unified army. He repelled the Christian in the north. We conquered and took back some of the cities in the southern from Fatimids. Um, Knowledge, Medina, um, Cordoba was the ornament of the world, illuminating with light and knowledge for the whole world. Yet he doesn't stop there. His principal architecture achievement was the construction of his capital city called Medina al-Zahra, a marble city constructed 3 miles from Cordoba. So beautiful that the city was actually visited by people from all corner of the planet to just see it and be wondered by it. Medina al-Zahra was city flower blooming with it started actually construction started in 936 and I think it lasted for over 10 to 12 years. 10,000 men, mules, and labored to build it. It had over 4,000 marble columns with different colors from all kinds of places, some from North Africa, some from Italy, some came from the Byzantine emperor's gifts. The walls were inlaid with ivory, jasper, gold, silver, and exquisite green marble. Fountains were everywhere, from imported from Syria, surrounding it by 12 statues painted in red and gold. The statues actually were representing vulture, lion, crocodile, eagle, dragon, etc., and a dove and a falcon. And they were actually making sounds, and nobody knew how in this time these statues were making these sounds of what they represent. It was unbelievable. Nearly over 14,000 people lived in the city, serving soldiers, women, children. So therefore, there were schools, there were workshops, there were actually a zoo in there. 1,200 loaves alone of bread were required on a daily basis just to feed the fish in the ornamental ponds around the city. Medina to Zahra was so dazzling. It was almost like a dream that manifested and came true. To dazzle visitors, there was pool of quicksilver in the reception that actually flashed light when struck by sunlight. And the mystic Sufi Ibn Arabi actually writes on an account of one of the Christian ambassador who visited the city of al-Zahra. He says that on the way from Cordoba to al-Zahra, soldiers were uh, both broad and long naked swords meeting at the tip, creating like a rafters of roof for almost 3 miles. Within the gate of Al-Zahra, it was all covered by brocades. At regular intervals, he places dignities to receive the ambassadors who were wearing splendid, sitting on splendid chairs and array of brocades and silk. Each time the ambassadors saw one of those people, the dignitaries sitting down on, they were actually thinking that this is him, this is Abdurrahman al-Nasir, and they would be imagining that he would be the Khalifa, whereby they would approach him and bow down their head, and then they were told, raise your head, this is but a slave of his slaves. Last, they enter the courtyard, which is strewn with sand, and they would find that the Khalifa sitting there and wearing clothes made out of 4 dirhams. He was sitting on the ground, his head is bent, and he was looking at the Quran and a sword and a fire. Behold the ruler, the ambassadors were told. Abdurrahman ruled over his kingdom with justice towards people of all religions. Christian, Jews received equal protection and treatment under the law. Spain became the most cosmopolitan kingdom on earth. Khalifa made no distinction between his own household and the common folks, even of his ruling. Um, Abdurrahman actually passed away in 961 and was buried in Medina al-Zahra. I'd like to read to you a quote from Abdurrahman's diary that he left behind. It says, I have now reigned above 50 years in victory and peace, beloved by my subjects, dreaded by my enemies, and respected by my allies. Riches and honor, power and pleasure have waited on my call, nor does any earthly blessing appear to be wanting for my felicity. In this situation, I have diligently numbered the days of my pure and genuine happiness which have fallen to my lot. They amount to be 14 days. O men, place not the confidence in this present world. Powerful, powerful words from a wise man who, against all odds, achieved victory and build a legacy behind him. Now that we're coming to the end of this uh, talk, I think what I'd like to say is this common theme that we always find between all of our Muslim heroes. They plan, they learn, they execute. I find it that it's very interesting that most of them actually start at a young age. They have long-term goals. They never deviated from the goals. They executed, always executed on time. They never quit, and they always stick to their goals. These are the advice that they left behind for us to analyze and ponder. So my advice to you is please follow in their footstep, learn, seek knowledge, analyze, contemplate, understand your own situation pretty well, understand your weakness, your strength, where you need to go, how you're going to get there. Plan very carefully. Don't listen to people that tell you you're not going to succeed, because you will succeed. Positive mind will give you positive life. You're never going to have a positive life with negative mind. I said that so many times. Stay positive, close your eyes, think about your goal. Make sure that you have 100% confidence in Allah and in yourself. You will deliver and you will achieve your goals. Build your framework, understand where you need to be, what you need to do, execute on time, one thing at a time. Create the support you need and do not ever, ever quit. If you follow the advice, if you follow those steps, follow the role models of Islam, how they achieve their goals, start at a young age and don't stop. You will be another Abdurrahman al-Nasir at a different time and different circumstances. I look forward to the next character that we are going to talk about, another unknown Muslim hero or forgotten Muslim hero. Look forward to it. Wassalamu alaikum.